Welcome to Zero Hit Points, everybody. It's May 22nd. I'm Ryan Miller. He's Man Amber.
Wow, the build-up there it's a travesty. After
Is it enough if I just do a voice?
So many episodes of you coming up with a nickname, and it's like you just finally, I give up. That's it, we're done.
Number one, I do give up. Number two, I felt the gruffness of my voice implied a millennial version of the Fall Guy, Matt Amberg.
I know that's terrible too, but I love it. I would love to be the Fall Guy. Except for me, I'm not a stuntman. I just trip a lot.
The worst part is I don't remember actually a thing about that show other than it was called The Fall Guy. Mm-hmm. And I liked it, but possibly only for that reason. Yeah,
it had nothing to do with times of the seasons or anything. It was kind of disappointing in that respect. If I remember correctly, though, he was a stuntman that was like a private detective or something.
Was that it? Okay, because the only image in my head is him hanging from like a street sign or a highway sign or something.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's been forever since I've actually watched this show. I mean, forever literally being, I was 6 or whatever. Right. Yeah. If I those vague recollections, I feel like he was a stuntman that became a private eye or a cop or something, and he used being a stuntman to his advantage.
That's right. We do a media-centered podcast every Thursday. Come check it out. In fact, you got plenty of time to watch Assault on Precinct 13 still. But this is the Zero Hit Points podcast where we talk mainly about video games, mostly
at night.
Ones that we
see again. I go back to movies. I don't know what I'm doing.
Is that a movie? I didn't even
Aliens,
catch it.
Man.
Oh, is that a movie? Okay.
No, those are real people.
They are. They're politicians. If you want the political podcast, tune in Saturdays. We just don't even record it. This is where we talk about the games we've played and also games we haven't played. Basically, I think that we can shorten it to that probably nowadays.
Likely.
If you had to choose a game to talk about, what would it be?
Burnout Paradise Remastered.
Burnout Paradise Remastered. You got it. You bought it.
I got it. I bought it. I played it with you.
You played it. You splayed it.
I displayed it on my TV. My TV is technically a display. You are correct. We shortened it to splay around here because we believe in efficient communiques.
I'd say it ruins the joke to explain it, but it wasn't a joke.
And
not funny,
we didn't explain anything good, so who cares?
Well, I'm curious as to did all me talking it up just got to you? You had to have it? Is that what happened?
Yeah, plus it's like it is kind of a simple, fun game to hop online, and I knew that you were going to be there for a little bit at least.
Extremely true.
And it's one of those series that in terms of racing, I like this game a lot more because you can crash people in it, and it's like it works out. It's way more fun, and I have played a little bit of I played a little bit of it offline the other day to kind of get more cars and stuff. And
did you play it on the 360 originally?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I never did. So.
Never went nearly as far as you did, but I did play it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, we had a couple good sessions, like hours at least in there.
Yeah. It was fun. I like that game online. That's a fun game, even though we had one game where there was just one wang that would not stop.
Warborn something. I'll dox him here and now. There you go.
His name
Don't play with Warborn something.
Jeffrey Character Wheaties. That's his name.
I just find it funny because it was literally, actually the Warborn might have been like 2 games in, but there was also one other dude. Like we kept running into guys that would just go AFK or something, so I kept having to boot them. And then that dude showed up who, just kept. I never got it. Was I always just get more disappointed that he exists in the world. Mm-hmm. He's never. I'll never give them the satisfaction of being like, I'm so pissed off because this guy. I don't care. It's just I shake my head like, one of us is wasting their time, and it's not me.
Well, I mean,
okay. One of us is wasting their time worse.
Yes, okay,
and it's
fair.
Not me. Yeah,
that's.
So I just kept booting him. Like he would join, I would boot him. He would join, I would boot him, and it went on that like maybe 20 times. And I was like, he's gonna get tired of this before I do. And sure enough,
it's like as soon as you said that too, I think he actually quit.
Yeah, it was like 5 more. Yeah, I'm like, I can go all night, buddy. Come on, bring it.
That's
what I say.
I know it. I know it.
It is. That game's impossibly fun. Like it shouldn't be, especially, and maybe it's because it is kind of a remaster and it had, I feel like, such a dedicated fan base, because I feel like Paradise didn't necessarily sell a zillion copies.
Yeah,
initially.
I never felt like this was the big seller for them in terms of Burnout for that series.
But definitely over the years, I feel like it's garnered a lot of positive everything. And maybe that's why the people playing it now are kind of just already positive, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, they also, Criterion did a great job keeping the servers available, making them live and everything. You know, it's populated. I mean, we didn't have a problem getting people into the games whatsoever. Like,
it's rarer to get up to the 8-player thing, but I think we still did that. I mean, it's not rare. I guess it just takes more time.
Yeah, we did it a couple times. The biggest issues were that we would end up with like an AFKer or guy that just had to be kicked a bunch of times. That only happened once or twice.
Yeah, and even then, it would somebody else would come in. So yeah, really good game, really good remaster, really good fun.
I like it.
In fact, I'm consistently surprised at how many of the things, like I kind of knew it was seminal in a lot of different ways, but it seems like every time I play it, there's a thing that pops up that I've seen in Forza or Need for Speed or just every racing game now that I'm like, oh, that this is where it happened. Like
right.
The latest thing was the classical music station, which is hands down my favorite radio in a racing game now. Just like driving around town to Mozart and stuff. Like, this is cool.
It's my favorite part of Forza for sure, the Horizon game.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, cool.
Nice.
We'll probably play some more of that.
Did you play anything else?
I did. I have one other thing actually that I didn't necessarily play as much as finally download and realize it's as awesome as it looks.
Okay.
Hidden Folks.
I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, remember, I want to say it might have been the Game Awards that got nominated for something, and we were like, whoa, what's that game? It looks like Where's Waldo, and I'm going to download it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it finally, both of us, don't ever listen to what we're saying. So that didn't happen, but it showed up. I forget how it showed up. I might have just been surfing the App Store or something even, because I'm kind of between mobile games. So like, what do I do on the toilet or at night,
Yeah, the main questions we all ask ourselves.
Yeah, and it's video games, but which one? So Hidden Folks came up again. I was like, oh yeah, that thing. So I downloaded it. It's better than you think. And Where's Waldo probably has an app out there somewhere, I would guess. It can't be as good as this thing. Like, it's the pictures, first of all, are cool. Like they're super fun, and it still kind of looks Where's Waldo except there's no color at all.
Right.
But all the sound effects are mouth made. Like, it's just some guy going bling.
All right, that's cool. I like
rad.
it. That's
it's
funny.
Super cool. It's rad.
That's awesome.
But I've only done like the world one, and it was like a starter world, and then they get super huge, and you click on a guy, and it'll give you a clue. Like, this guy likes soft beds, and then you'll search around, and sometimes you have to poke a bed, and he'll fall out, and then you can poke him, and it's like, you found me.
So it's like real life. It's like PAX.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes,
I'm passed out from the night before. You guys are like, hey, poke the bed. You found me.
Yeah. Somebody poke Matt. Is somebody in this bed with me?
Might be Matt.
You found me.
For some reason, I become the Pillsbury Doughboy. Punch me in the stomach. I mean, poke me. Don't punch me. I'm not
too late.
I am not a doughboy. I'm not ready to be like. I don't need to be pounded out. Wait.
You're a violent Pillsbury.
Evil Pillsbury Doughboy.
Punch me in the stomach. Masochistic. Just hurt me. Poke.
Cook me. Okay. So I did play a couple of games this week, and I kind of I didn't get a lot of time with them. I spent the most time I had this week with Burnout with you. That was the most, however long we played Saturday night, from like 3 hours maybe.
That's true. I think I kept you up a little late that night. I might have.
No, I mean, whatever. It was like 3 hours at most. Yeah. I got maybe half an hour of God of War. I got about half an hour of State of Decay 2. I don't really have a ton to say about those things, but something that I've been kind of like, I've been wanting to talk about on the show and just kind of in general, and I haven't really known how to bring it up. And I don't know how to bring it up now. This is all off the cuff. It's just been something I know I've been wanting to talk about is, if you've been listening for the past couple of weeks, months, with me, you'll note that a lot of my gameplay went down. I just haven't been playing as many games, and some of it does have to do with family stuff. Some of it has to do with, work related stuff, but a mass majority of it really has to do with depression. I have depression. I have issues. I go see a therapist. I take medication for it. And something that I consistently have to talk to my therapist about, and something that I consistently go over, is how depression can take things that you truly love and just make them the most banal things. Just it becomes impossible to care. It becomes like it's not only just a what's the point of why am I doing this? Like all of these things, they all kind of fall into this like this umbrella, and that's kind of where I've been for a while. Some of it comes to, you know, that there are parts of this where it's a self-worth thing, where like we talked, you know, you go back to November of last year, September, December, and I was hot and heavy into Fortnite, and I really like it. And I kept talking about how, you know, some of my issues with that game are that I have to accept limitations of myself. Right. And some of that is, you know, realistic, but there's also a point where I have problems having fun, where I want to do it. I feel the pull to play the game, and I don't want to sit down and do it. And it's because I just look at it and there's a cloud over it, you know, and it's not just Fortnite. It's not just multiplayer games. It's all games. And this is just an extension of it. I guess my purpose in bringing this up is I don't know how many people are listening to this right now. I don't know how many people are going to hear. I don't know. But we talk about mental illness and we talk about things like this all the time on the internet. Whenever anything happens, it's the first thing that comes up. It's mental illness. And it's hard to get across on something so small and something so almost meaningless as games, you know, like who cares? Why are you depressed that you can't play games? And it's hard to explain, and it's hard to talk about this in a way that is even comprehensible, I think, to people that maybe don't feel it.
Sure.
And I like, part of it is, you know, I want people to know it's just like every other person's ever been in a situation like this says, you know, there's help. There's ways to get around it. There are things you can do, but keeping in mind that doesn't always fix the problem right away. And you have to take time with it. And, you know, it's been a long time for me in coming to grips with some of this and learning to deal with it. And it's still really, really hard. It's like, it's partially, it's depressing because it's depressing. Like, I am depressed that I don't want to play games, and I'm depressed that I don't want to play games. Like you know, it stacks, and that just is, it snowballs. And this happens a lot. And it happens not only with like wanting to play games, but I'll be in the middle of a game and it will just snowball into, and it just, why am I doing this? And I will just want to walk away, and sometimes I'll just quit. Sometimes I push through it and I'll go, okay, I found my groove again. And I'm happy to be here for this time that I have. But more often than not, my game sessions, especially as of like the past year, I haven't been able to do that 3, 4, 5 hour thing that I want to be able to do. I haven't been able to bring myself. I haven't been able to bring myself to play Fortnite now since before Season 3's season pass ended, for at least 3 weeks before that, I think, because I get back into my own head and there's all these things about like, why play it? You're never going to win. It's pointless. You're not having fun, you know, but it's, I want to, you know, like it's not the game. The game isn't the problem. I'm the problem. I have the problem, you know, and I have games to play and games that I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying God of War when I can sit down with it, but getting to the point where I want to sit down with it is really hard. And I guess, yeah, guess part of the reason I bring this up is because I still want to play games. I still want to be involved, and I'm trying to get through that. And while I may not have a ton to say on games that I'm playing now, that doesn't impact the fact that I'm still, consuming games. I'm watching games on Twitch. I'm still,
Sure.
I'm still there. It's just, there's like this paralyzing part of not being able to play games because you have a mental block for no reason other than your body chemistry, your brain chemistry, whatever happened is happening. Like, I don't know why this has happened. I don't know how the buildup of this happened. I just know that it happened, and it's been this way for a while, and I've had to push through it as much as I can to play as many games as I could, because I was hoping that was going to be the answer, is just submerge yourself and just do it. And that didn't really work. So I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I felt it was something I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to talk about this, and I guess let people into my life right now a little bit. I have a very complicated life situation right now.
Right.
That I'm not super into talking about. But this is a huge part of it. And, I hope that I guess I don't want this to be the last thing I ever say about this. I don't want this to be the end of even if it's just a one-sided conversation of me talking for a minute here. I want to continue bringing this up on to a point, because it's part of me, and this show is part of me too. And I hope that these, like, this whole little bit, and if these moments come up again, like, I hope they're not things that you feel are like super melodramatic or are going to drive you away from the show.
No.
We're not trying. I'm not trying to do that. We're still going to try and be idiots the way we always are.
Yes.
But
don't worry.
It's hard to talk about, like I said at the beginning, and a huge part of, actually, this is something I guess a huge part of why this is hard to talk about, especially on the show, is because I come into the show amped up. Like, I'm excited to talk to Ryan. I'm excited
Right.
to talk about things. And so it's hard to kind of, like, I will get out of that funk for this little time. And so it's hard to kind of go back a second, go back 10 minutes, go back an hour, and go, how did I feel? Like, how do I explain? How do I express these things? And it's really hard to because it sounds stupid. It sounds so dumb to say, I don't want to play games because they bum me out. Like, it's the antithesis of what games are supposed to do.
Right. Yeah.
And it's, so there's like you get into that cycle of why am I wrong? Why is my brain, why do I think this is bad? Like, why am I hating this right now? Why? Yeah. And I just never know. And it's, it's a thing.
It's weird all the way around. I mean, yeah, it's why, I have seen you have a bad day or be in the middle of a bad day, and then we start the show and it's like all of that disappears in seconds,
Yeah.
Because this is, I mean, it's a safe space probably isn't the right word, but yeah, it's we derive happiness from things. And I think part of, like, I hope you keep talking about this honestly, and I'm not gonna sit here and try to be like outright therapy about it, because that's, I shouldn't, number one. And number two, I understand, and I don't want to get into this, but I have a background in addiction, and I know what it's like to not be able to give somebody something. Like, you can't give anybody what it's like to be depressed.
Right. No.
And all those idiots who are like, man, just what, like, it sounds dumb. Like, why don't you just not, like, are the worst? They're not the worst people in the world.
They just don't understand it.
But they don't. Yeah. And there's no way to give that to them. Like, you cannot. Maybe after an extended conversation, or maybe if they go see a therapist, maybe they'll start to understand, so.
Yeah, if you go see a therapist, you'll get depressed, and then.
Yeah. But it's also why we laugh, like, about stuff like this. Like, I'm a huge believer in, being able to laugh at stuff, like even really serious stuff.
Definitely.
Like, one of the most serious tweets I've ever done is that I hope when I die, all of you make fun of the circumstances surrounding it as much as possible. You know, however it happened, I don't care.
No, and I will. Like, don't worry.
But it's
autopilot is a killer.
I think it's important to be able to do that. I mean, that's a huge part of comedy, period. You know, and we cannot get into that conversation about
because we don't know anything about comedy.
Yes, number one. But also, it's important, I think, just to be real in that way. Like, continue to talk about it, like as much as possible. And it is weird that we're doing it on a podcast or that it's in a show. And yeah, I agree. I hope that doesn't come out as trite, or, you know, if we do joke about depression, like we're actually joking about depression. No, we're shining a light, basically, is what it is. And I almost said the light is laughter, but I feel like I should probably stop short.
That, you know,
that might be what we're scared of.
That, you know what? Now I'm really depressed. All the energy gone. Oh my. Oh, I gotta go. You know, when I'm stressed, I eat, and it's time for a burger and like 10 donuts.
I'm getting off the wagon immediately.
I'm chasing the wagon. It's a lot of feet away.
No, but do not stop talking about it. Like, bring it up casually, bring it up non-casually, like bring it up in every discussion. I don't care. Like, I would rather have that real discussion than as much as I enjoy, and I think we enjoy just talking about games and keeping it light. Like, I think it's more valuable for everybody involved that we
keep it real.
Keep it real. Again, I did almost say that. I tried to avoid it.
You can't.
No. You can't avoid keeping it real.
You can't.
0HITPOINTS.com.
If you're not keeping it real, you're cheaping on the deal.
Again, you should have stopped so long ago.
Yeah. So now if you guys are depressed, there are lots of phone numbers to call. Get a hold of a mental health, talk to a therapist. Take drugs.
There's
prescribed or not, I can't tell you what to do.
I mean, but seriously, there's nothing wrong with that. That's another pet peeve is people that are like, you go see a therapist or you're taking drugs. Like, oh, all of America is medicated. I'm like, yeah, but
it helps for a lot of people. You know, I've been dealing with depression and anxiety, and I also have background with addiction. I have I've got the check boxes, going okay. down the line here, and just the dumb things that I have done in my life that became, turned me into this bag of meat that you see before you. There should be no stigma here. And I have never felt a stigma. And I mean, I am also one of those people, though, that this comes back to part of my therapy. It's real easy for me to just, I'm done with you now. Pull the curtain on you if you're going to try and stigmatize the fact that people have mental illness. Go to hell.
Right.
It is what it is, and I bring it up mostly because it's a part of me. The show is a part of me. Games are a part of me, and those three things coincide here. And I needed to talk about that. So let's talk about somebody else who's probably depressed right now. Cliffy B.
Not.
Come on. Good segue. Good segue. You got to admit.
I did wonder how in the world we were going to talk about anything else at this point, but that's might have done it. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. Okay. 2 weeks ago, while we were on the vacation, I think, or whatever we were doing.
I think this broke last week. We were recording.
It broke right after we were recording. You're right.
Yeah.
Boss Key Productions, they shut down the studio, and they're the group behind Lawbreakers and Radical Heights, started by Cliffy B. He brought in all sorts of people that he knew in the past, and shortly after they shuttered the studio of all the employees, with an explanation where Clifford essentially says that Lawbreakers didn't find its audience. Radical Heights was too little too late.
Yeah, which we talked about. I guess I just didn't. We might have said too little too late or something along those lines.
Pretty sure I did.
I didn't realize how much.
It was shocking. Like, that game came out and they died right away. And that was right after they did a big thing on Twitch like the week before where they had a whole bunch of streamers, like it was on the front page and it was the most I'd ever seen streaming that game. And then the next day it was back down to just nobody's playing it. And
I just didn't realize that was an actual push. I thought it was more of a like, look at the project we're working on. Like this will be cool in a bit. I didn't know they were actually hoping to get, I guess, money from that thing so immediately. But yeah,
apparently.
Yeah.
But the following day after they announced that the studio had killed everybody that worked there. I mean, fired them or laid them off, whatever you want to say. Cliffy did announce that the entire thing is gone. Like there is no more Bosky. He is done with Bosky. It is a dead studio.
It sounds like he's done with game development for a while.
And he did again come back out, and he said he's going to take some time away, and he still wants to be part of games, but he's not going to be engaging right now. And he's pretty much walked away from the internet for a bit. And this kind of brings up another question, and I mentioned this when we talked about Radical Heights. And I still think it's a valid question, which comes back down to Bosky comes out of the gates firing big time. We got Lawbreakers. It's going to be the competitive game that every shooter player wants, multiplayer arena stuff. Here it is. It's going to be killer.
Evolution of that genre.
Yeah, and it's going to be good because the guy who built the genre, the guy who was so instrumental in making the genre go further and pushing it, Clifford Blazinski, was going to make this game. And with his company, it can't lose. But it lost.
It lost.
And I remember going back, okay, and talking about Lawbreakers right after the first alpha and then the beta came out. And I played it. And I played it for a little bit. I gave it a decent amount of time to get a feel for it, to know what it was. And I said back then, before the game was released, that I see what they're doing and that it made sense and that it could be a good game. But everything about that game was very, very bland. It looked bland. The characters were bland. And while the gimmicks and stuff were there, they just didn't feel like it was enough. It felt too by the numbers and too bland. I mean, that's what it was. That bore out.
The other thing you'll hear about it is that it just went too deep. Like the skill ceiling was just too high. So yeah, it seemed like just the worst combination of time and place and type, and
it was a perfect storm of bad.
Yeah,
like it really was. And Lawbreakers, they ran into the situation where first it was going to be free to play, then it wasn't, then they were charging for it.
Yeah.
And then
Overwatch came out.
And then they were dealing with, they had all that stuff too, but they just couldn't compete. And then you get to about 5, 6, maybe 8 months ago, they start working as hard as they can, as fast as they can on a battle royale game that turns into Radical Heights, which, again, and when I talked about this after I played it, I caveats were totally unfinished. This is very much so an early alpha. Like it works, but I saw all the issues with it, and I didn't see a lot of that gameplay changing dramatically there, because the way it played felt like the way they wanted it to play, which ostensibly, after I thought about it for a while, and I saw somebody mention this, and I was like, yeah, no, it was a perfect combination of, it was Smash TV in a battle royale format.
Sure. Which
sounds great. And the presentation for a lot of it was really good. But again, you're trying to jump into an arena right now that is, it seems like it should have a lot of space to grow, but it doesn't. Fortnite is killing it in every respect. PUBG is still making strides, and they are still killing it. You've got all these other games now coming out with Battle Royale. And on top of that, most of those games that are doing it, it feels like they're polishing it. They're trying to bring it out. They're not pushing to market a 5-month-old alpha.
Right. Yeah.
And so this comes back around to whose name gets put on that Battle Royale game, and suddenly people are now buying it. Because Cliff Blazinski as a name doesn't sell anything anymore. And Blazinski kind of mentioned this too when he was being interviewed for Lawbreakers, that that a lot of people playing games now, like the younger generation, they don't know who he is. And there are not a ton of name developers that I think people just automatically trust. And the only one that I can come to grips with, like in my head, is Kojima. Like everybody seems to know Kojima's name because Metal Gear. So you can expect something that is out of this world, may not be the greatest game in the world, but it'll be crazy interesting. But there aren't a ton of other game developers on that level. And I feel like that used to be a thing, it was, you had Romero, you had Blazinski, Tim Schafer to a point. And
I don't think you ever did though, actually.
No.
I mean, I think in retrospect, it's
maybe it felt like
Romero might be a good example. Like nobody knew when Doom was around. Again, maybe we should ask Petal, our resident PC enthusiast, but also Doom enthusiast. I don't remember everybody knowing that name. It was more just Doom was a huge thing, right?
Well,
I feel like that was kind of retrospectively they got big. And
well, so I think that with the Romero thing, it wasn't Doom, and it wasn't like it was more Daikatana. People saw Doom and then they took his name and were like, okay, you're marketable because he had long hair, he was outspoken a little bit, and he was not what you typically would have thought of as a game developer. He didn't look like Carmack. Carmack, brilliant guy. Wait, but in comparison, the two of them, you've got uber nerd, and then you've got the guy who was like, hey, I could have been Fabio. And
I guess what I'm saying is even then I feel like that was a real small subset. I mean, and maybe in the PC world, it's more viable because it's a tech savvy group. It's the master race. Everybody knows this.
Yeah, we've heard about it.
But games are so much bigger now, and maybe people will recognize Will Wright's name. Maybe they'll recognize Tim Schafer might be another one. The other guy that puts his name on
Peter Molyneux,
the strategy games.
Sid Meier,
right? Like maybe there, but even then, like you don't. I feel like those aren't names you take and put on another game, and that makes a success.
Sure.
And Cliffy, kind of the same thing. I almost feel like it's not perfectly correct to say that his name doesn't sell games anymore. It's just that I don't think we've still ever reached that level of cachet with developers. Like there are some obviously that have better track records than others, and everything that he did with Bosky I think is still pretty representative. Like you could look at Lawbreakers and be like, yeah, that's a Blazinski game. It's just that maybe he's too high concept. That's what it is. We just don't get him.
That's it. You figured it out. Cliff Blazinski, creator of Gears of War. A little too high concept.
I'm joking, but maybe to some extent, like he does have kind of grander ideas than
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I guess okay. I can see the idea that maybe developer names, especially outside of the gaming world, are not going to necessarily set anybody's pants on fire. But I do feel like there were a subset of people that and I still think those people could still exist, but now it feels like instead of the person or the people, you end up looking at a name, like a company name, and you're like, I hate everybody at that company, or I love everybody at that company. And it's like we all know, everybody knows. And if you don't want to believe this, and if you can't agree with this, I'm actually comfortable just flat out saying you're wrong.
All right.
Everybody hates Electronic Arts.
Okay.
There are still games that can be developed.
Universal, yeah.
Can be developed by EA that are excellent games because it's not Electronic Arts. It's a specific subset of developers, right? So we find out,
or the publishing liaisons or something like that. Like developers, for the most part, probably didn't put all the loot boxes in their games. It was an initiative, from maybe even Disney at some point. Like,
sure. Yeah, and I guess maybe it's that we're so focused on we focus on the corporate name. We see Activision, we see EA, we see Ubisoft, and we have an idea. We know what we're getting from those companies, but on the same token, it's like we're not getting, like, for as more open as developers seem to be getting, I guess I feel like they're like we're still not maybe appreciating. I don't know. I don't know where I'm headed with this.
Those two examples,
You know?
I mean, EA and Activision are never going to freaking push a developer. Like, they'll never put a developer's name on any game. Like, EA maybe gets the closest with, EA partners or something like that, but they're never going to put one guy's name on there. And largely speaking, you've mentioned good examples. Tim Schafer, I think, is one. Although Tim Schafer, I feel like, would probably never put his name on a game. Kojima is another.
I'm sure he's put his name on games.
But it would never be like Tim Schafer's this. It's always Double Fine's this. Tim Schafer's my name might be. You know what I'm talking
I see.
about.
I'm saying he's embarrassed by it, so he wouldn't think got it.
But I mean, EA and certainly Activision are always going to buck against that. Like Activision's probably pissed they have to put developer studio names on the box at all. Like they can't just say Activision did this.
What do you mean we didn't make this?
So I mean, there's that. But and to a certain extent, it's just kind of it's probably just always going to be a rarer thing. It's not going to be like movies in that way. It's never, because there's such a collaborative effort too.
Right. Yeah.
I would say most examples, it's probably not a great idea to put one guy's name on that game, so.
Right. I don't know. It's interesting because I guess, like I said, in my, maybe it's just my weird skew. It always felt to me like there were certain developers that people just trusted, and it was like that was that, and I mean people, like an individual person, and now
right.
it's like I perfect example of this is that I'm a person I'm always going to give Remedy the benefit of the doubt, like every time, 100%.
Also a special case.
Yeah. But to be fair, Remedy gets that a great deal, not just because of their games, but because of Sam Lake.
Okay.
I really like Sam Lake. I think the dude's really funny,
should.
and he's a great creative director, and he's a good, smart guy. I don't know that I could say the same thing about EA. Like, there are games that I want to play, but I don't know. I can't come out and say, oh, yes, Bjorn Helgeland, who created NHL 18. Like, he's the guy.
Did he really?
No, I'm just pulling a name out of my butt.
And yet you pulled that out of your hat so quickly.
Yeah. Well, look,
okay.
Hockey names are fun to make up. You just put words together, and it's a hockey name. Where's he from?
Fun
Latvia.
fact, not too far from how they make hockey games as well.
It's true. Very true.
Just put these things together. Okay.
So I guess what we're coming to the end here is developer names don't necessarily make any difference here, but corporations are gonna make money one way or the other. So I guess just support Cliffy B. Go to his GoFundMe. He needs to pay a lot of money to repairs for Lamborghinis, not cheap.
Does he tell me he doesn't still own a Lamborghini? That would be
it's Clifford Blazinski.
Okay,
He's got 5 of them.
What else? We got a couple follow-up things too. We had a big old road to E3 last week, so these are semi-relevant to that.
The road to E3.
I love that the one game I for sure, like without a doubt, like unequivocally said would be at E3 was Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
And
like within a day of recording, Randy Pitchford was like, oh yeah, we're not bringing Borderlands 3 to E3. Thank you, Randy Pitchford.
Yeah, he must have heard the show and just been like, oh, it's going to be there for sure, huh?
I bet he's going to be staying at the Sheraton again, so we see him in the elevator.
We see him every year.
Randall.
And then this other thing had to do with Rage 2, which is, I think, probably still going to be at E3, but apparently is not going to have loot boxes, but is going to be a games as service thing.
Yeah, which, I mean, look, no loot boxes, games as a service. What do you get with your service? You're buying the same crap you'd get out of the loot boxes. You just know what it is.
Right, yeah.
It is exactly the same thing. That's it. The bigger difference here is that since it's a games as a service, they don't necessarily have to give you, they won't necessarily give you in-game currency. You may just have to pay for stuff with cash or buy in-game currency to buy the thing.
And it's hard. We don't know how they're going to implement it, but yeah, it's almost a bait and switch at some point because they're like the very worst part and hot button thing from games as service that happened, we won't do.
No,
we're just going to do normal games as service, and like half the world is like, oh, cool, and then me is still like, oh, all right, well, thanks for letting me know ahead of time. I guess I'm out then.
Yeah. So how much DLC crap are you going to put in there that's going to be a nightmare among other things?
Still game as service, whatever. I guess we'll see, but. Some of the other stuff that came out with about that game is more interesting than last time, because we talked a little bit about the trailer.
Yeah,
and I wasn't completely sold on that. While I think it's good that Rage seems to have an identity now, whereas that was one of the things that was missing. I just don't know if I'm into that identity yet,
right,
I guess.
Sure.
But they talked more about actually who's making it, which was one of the things I did want to know, because it's from id Software, but apparently they're working closely with Avalanche. So my questions are, is it the Doom team from id Software, and is it the Just Cause team from Avalanche? But I don't know if, which Mad Max was made by a different team, which I guess could be fine too.
It could be, yeah. So Mad Max, I actually really enjoyed. Thought it was really good. Didn't have a ton of glitches. Not a huge issue. Pretty good game. Just Cause 3, that game is a freaking trash fire on the console.
Oh, really?
I quit playing it because it was so bad. It was so glitchy. It was so the frame rates were terrible. The game
I did not know how that went.
Screen tearing all over that. It was a travesty. And I tweeted at them for like a freaking 2 months straight. Like, are you ever fixing the FPS issues here? Ever? Because you would get into points where if you had too many explosions going on, or there were too many things in the room or in the area, which in an open world game where you're skydiving is kind of a thing, idiots, the frame rate would just drop to the point where there were oftentimes you'd land not where you were expecting to.
Well, there's not that many explosions in Just Cause, is there?
No, not at all. It's not the primary function of the game.
They're like, okay, the two things people do most often kind of screw up the game. Everything else, though.
Yeah, so we're fine. Don't patch it. Let's work on Mad Max, and then we'll work on something else.
I did not know that. All right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, even just adds to the fire for Rage 2, I guess.
Yeah,
it's interesting to see what happens.
After you mentioned that, I hadn't thought about that until I put 2 and 2 together. I am now way more dubious about that game than ever before.
I mean, I would definitely want a Doom sequel before I wanted that team doing a Rage sequel, but I mean,
I think
the fact that it's a games as service thing makes more sense. Like they're trying to get this kind of in the hopper, But they want a games as service thing going, and they'll do everything else.
Right. But I also think Doom was created by the internal team at id. I don't think that was that.
Well, so I'm saying I don't know what team is what. I know it says id is working very closely with Avalanche. I don't know who from id. I don't know who from Avalanche. So,
all right.
Yeah,
whatever.
Doom 2 will come soon enough. It just won't be soon enough, I guess is what I'm saying.
That's true. I want to fist bump my little toy version of myself.
Maybe if you had $100 million.
If I had $100 million, Doom 2 would definitely come out. Like, I would fund the studio for that. I'd be like, you know what? I got enough money. Let's make Doom 2.
Well, maybe it's time you fired up Fortnite again then.
I don't think so. Not with that kind of prize money on the line. I can't believe this is insanity. Epic.
It's even though it's a total, like there's no $100 million prize, even though it's a total thing, it's still insane. Yes.
No, this blows the biggest thing that happened out of the water by like $20,000 to $30,000, if not more.
Right.
Like $100 million for esports. This is going across the world, across the country, all that stuff for various Fortnite esports games, like comp Fortnite. They are throwing the weight behind it, man. They are making a decision here. I mean, good for them. They've got the money to do it. I imagine that Fortnite by itself, the battle royale stuff, is probably raking them in a pretty penny.
They probably got $100 million in the bank right now
with all the battle passes and stuff that sold, and then on top of that, you've got the Save the World stuff, which they have been updating. So
just downloads for Drake alone, just that guy, he's put $1 million into it.
Probably, yeah. Just Drake Fortniting it all day with Ninja. They're hanging out. They're best buddies now. I heard Ninja's going to be guest rapping on Drake's next album.
What? Is that for real?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
But it'd be depressing and weird if it was.
Yeah, it would be the least surprising piece of news
true.
in any given week.
Yeah, no, that's true. Look, I don't know what's going on with esports, but I do know that Fortnite is an Epic are pushing hard for comp Fortnite. They want to see it grow. They want that to work out. They're doing it, and I will real base prediction here. They're gonna add something into the main game for ranked, maybe. I don't know what.
Yeah.
But it's coming. They're gonna show how they're gonna score things.
This is the beginning, or part of the beginning. An argument could be made that they've already started pushing their competitive aspect.
Oh,
to
for
this.
sure.
And it makes sense.
They definitely have. Yeah.
Ramp that up. Yeah.
But
is this game still in early access? Technically,
yes. Technically, it is. Only to Save the World. Battle Royale is free, so it's in production.
Oh, all right.
So, and that's going to do it for the news.
Fortnite is out, everybody.
Yeah. And that's going to do it for the news. Let's move on to the capper.
Yeah.
This is it. This is a weird one. We're bringing this one up for a few reasons. And the last bullet point here that we'll mention, I think, is going to be the coup de grace, as it were, for all of you Finn Balor, Prince Devitt fans. So Call of Duty, what is this? 4, 5, 11? Where are we at?
Black Ops 4.
Right.
You can tell by the Roman numeral 4,
okay,
denoted by 4 Roman numeral 1s.
That's not right. For one.
What, are you Roman?
No, but I can read.
Reigns?
I'm numeral.
No, are you Roman Reigns? You look. I haven't seen either of you in the same room at the same time.
I am the big dog. Ugh, there's a reason nobody will ever let me win anything. So Call of Duty Black Ops 4, they brought the trailers out. They brought it all out. They did their own little thing last week with a big to-do. Spent an hour going over, if not longer, going over all the crazy changes and new things that are coming to Black Ops 4. So we got some trailers.
Yeah, at least 3, 4, something like that.
Yeah, we got the multiplayer trailer, which looks okay. Looks like Call of Duty multiplayer, I think. What do you have more experience there? So what did you see?
I just want to say, like, we talked about how the rumor came out that there might not be any single player campaign for this already. So that's kind of already out there, and that's going to kind of color everything else that I saw with this stuff. Mm-hmm. And the multiplayer trailer, by the end of it, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm the guy that bought Call of Duty for the campaigns, period. Yeah. So number one, I'm that guy. Mm-hmm. But number two, by the end of this trailer, I was like, okay, it was the right move getting rid of the campaign. Like that part of Call of Duty, obviously, and the numbers have borne out. And I've known, like, anecdotally, obviously, not even anecdotally, just whatever, that multiplayer is the biggest part of Call of Duty. Yeah. It just is now. But that trailer is a good sell. Like, number one, by the end was like, whoa, okay, it looks like they put a ton of stuff into this.
Yeah.
And number two, I was like, I get, like, the Call of Duty bro out there, no judgment even, was probably freaking stoked at that thing. Like, the Call of Duty bro within me was like, yeah, my other brothers will be excited at this. This looks good.
I agree. I'm not a Call of Duty guy. We've had this convo, and I guess I should preface anything further. For me, Call of Duty has never been a great series. It's been okay. It's been pretty by the numbers. I've never felt, even the future ones, they were never a great jump for me. I felt like I've always played something that was exactly like that came out before it. So I've always done one a generation, so Xbox 360, I did Modern Warfare, whichever one had no Russian in it.
2.
I did for the Xbox One. We did, what was
Advanced
Warfare.
Yeah.
So I should be out of this by now. I can't believe that was a cool trailer, man.
I mean, neither of us are gonna play this. Like, I will never play this mode. You think you might? It's that really?
I think I'm gonna. Let's just keep going.
Okay, let's keep going. All right,
because the other thing that came out, and this was a big sell for me, was the zombies mode.
Yeah.
And now I've been wanting to play this for a while, but the trailers that they had going here, it's too good. That's too good to almost walk away from.
Too Matt.
It is.
Like I saw you tweet about it. You were like, man, I'm kind of into this. I'm like, wait, what? And
yeah.
I watched it and I was like, oh.
Right. It's pretty much a lot of aesthetic and everything that kind of fits for me.
We've talked a little bit about zombies mode too. Like, I got into the Advanced Warfare zombies mode, which had Malkovich and Rose McGowan and Bill Pullman and Bruce Campbell. And all of that. And we're used to great effect and actually at that point got zombies is basically what happened. This trailer, I completely dislike the setting. Sorry, a couple zombies trailers came out. The first one I saw and the one you tweeted about was this one that takes place in in gladiator times.
Right.
And there's this whole kind of mystic aspect to it where they pull out a thing and it shell opens up that saves the people inside, but everybody outside turns into zombies, and then that's where it turns into a et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Again, not into that setting as much. Appreciated at the end, and I feel like this is where I was like, oh, Matt, how a impossibly large zombie comes out of a single human being. Like it's like a corpser from Gears of War comes out of a single. Like I loved how that happened. Like it just like the physics don't work. I was like, that's pretty cool.
They
like,
were
unless
great.
there's a portal inside the person's stomach, which just seemed cooler. So
yeah, now I'm really into that. They like landed on they were standing in the wrong spot when a wormhole opened. You never see that in a movie. Like I want to see somebody get torn open by a dimensional portal. Like how the hell do the Justice League always land on not somebody?
Right. I don't know.
But yeah, okay. So there were a couple of zombies trailers.
Yes.
So the first
one, and
one,
then the other one. Did you watch the other one? I barely found the other one. They actually have a trailer, kind of same thing. So actually, then I found out that these 4 players are time travelers.
Right.
Like the whole thing doesn't take place in that one gladiator place.
Yeah,
like it takes place also in a prison and in a ship. It takes on the Titanic. You didn't see that trailer?
I did not.
Check out the Titanic trailer. It's
I'll
pretty
have to
good.
look at that one because I did know that they were time travelers because they mentioned it after the trailer at the live thing,
which kind of fixed my concerns. Like.
Yeah. And then the big, I think this is the big one, honestly. I think that the big thing that Call of Duty has done for Black Ops 4 is a mode called Blackout, which is their battle royale mode.
Yeah.
I'm
so pissed. It looks great.
I just got finished talking about how games like the battle royale is so crowded right now, and it's going to be hard to break through Fortnite and PUBG, and I think Call of Duty may have figured out how. Like, look,
upset it looks good.
And the thing that kills me about this is they have a legitimate point where nobody could have made this version of Battle Royale except for them.
I mean, we had a show where we talked about, it might have been the capper for the week, where we talked about the future of Battle Royale and how, like, that was the number one thing. I was excited to see what happens with AAA games and Battle Royale.
Yeah.
And this is it. Like, this is...
So
and they showed, the funny thing is they showed nothing. Like I was like, man, I'm upset that this looks as good as it does, and they showed nothing. Like there's no actual gameplay.
No, I mean they hinted. Oh yeah, no, but ideally, yeah, this is. I'm interested. I'm super interested.
Yeah.
The final bullet point is something that you already brought up, which happens to be that there is no campaign here. This is all online. Yeah. You have they've got a nice break here of multiplayer versus and co-op, so you've got some option there, and I'm guessing Blackout is going to also have some form of squads, so you should be able to do, standard battle royale stuff.
Right. And they've injected, they said, and then part of what came out was they talked about why there's no campaign. They say they've injected story into kind of every mode.
Yeah.
So.
And they did actually mention specifically that zombies is significantly larger than it has been in the past.
And it was pretty large. The Call of Duty one we talked about, like that was the story hooks in that were way bigger than I thought than I knew about,
Right.
And they were good. They were fun. Like they used all those archetypes really well.
Yeah. So this all comes back to that final bullet point of no campaign, no offline campaign, no nothing. And the games as a service thing, Rage, we just talked about that. You can kind of jump back a little bit to Titanfall did this, and Evolve these online only multiplayer games.
Yeah.
With no campaign, and you do alienate a subsect of gamers, clearly not large enough for it to make a difference.
Nope. That's the thing.
And so, we've known for a while that these single player campaigns for quite a few things are just going to go away. It kind of came out and said, we still want these things, so we're going to do that. We're focusing on that.
Or machine games for Wolfenstein. Is that what you're
and machine
about?
games for, well, no, because it came out for Doom and said the same
also,
thing.
gotcha.
They wanted to focus on the single player. So machine games for Wolfenstein. We've got who's the other one? There was one more that I had.
And those are also, I mean, machine games didn't have Wolfenstein didn't have any multiplayer aspect. Doom had a multiplayer aspect, but it was a complete afterthought. It seemed like, anyways. Even though
I don't think it was an afterthought.
Legs.
I think it was just them trying to recapture what the original Dooms had.
I guess they knew there was going to be an audience kind of no matter what. So they, but yeah, this is, it like nobody should be surprised by this. Like it's weird because initially I was like, well, I've never liked a Treyarch campaign from Call of Duty. And whereas you're the guy that isn't so into Call of Duty, it's like Call of Duty 2, 4, Modern Warfare 2 are some of my favorite games of all time. So I've never liked a Treyarch campaign, but I do only play the campaign. So the whole thing was just an immediate non-sell to me, but I just can't say that anymore.
No, and look, I can't say that the lack of campaign bothers me here. I on some level it does, because I do enjoy the offline aspect of games usually far more than the online when it comes to playing with people that are not, friends. Playing with, or as I like to call them, better game players.
Right.
Yeah. That was an issue for me. And then on top of it, it was, it's a Black Ops, it's Call of Duty. Like, come on, you can't.
I've never played a Black Ops.
You can't. It's like I just can't get more generic. Okay, this game looks pretty interesting. That was a good trailer. The zombies look good. And okay, all right, fine. So I am not, by any means, I am not the. This is one that I will not pre-order. But I have a feeling that I'm going to have this pretty quickly after it drops. I am.
It won't be day one for me, but I'm
picking it up.
I'm going to be looking.
Unless it turns into it's just a total nightmare. I have a feeling I'll pick it up to try a couple of the things, minimum.
Yeah. We'll see. Something to stay tuned for Call of Duty news from 0 Hit Points.
0 Hit Points. Hey, let us know what you thought about the show. 0_H_P on Twitter. Podcast at 0hitpoints.com. We got episodes from the back catalog there. On Thursdays, we got a show called Book Club for Movies where we ask you to watch a movie with us.
You still got time to check out Assault on Precinct 13. Both, in fact. We were going to do kind of an oldie, newbie mishmash there. And I think
one of us succeeded in that.
Well, you've seen the new one, so at least you'll...
We can I
did get to see both, but it's going to be fun. Yeah, really.
So Book Club for Movies on Thursdays. Join us. Join the club. What do we got coming up? Any games coming out this week that you're picking up? Anything new?
Yeah, no.
No.
I'm so deep into whenever I get time to play a game, I just want to play Burnout Paradise, and I'm done. Mostly with all of the online achievements, actually, but I still just want to do those challenges. I don't care. I'm 320 out of 500, and I'm like, okay, let's keep going.
Finish it. Just do it. I've got God of War still going.
I keep trying to do that.
I have some definite thoughts about that game that I'll try to get some more done and maybe even wrap it up this week. Don't know. And then I've also got State of Decay 2 that I want to get into. I want to dig into that a little more.
When do I get to play that?
I think
a
tomorrow,
Game Pass holder myself?
I think it comes out tomorrow.
Okay. So maybe we will have that to talk about next week.
I guess the 22nd. So maybe
Is
today.
That tomorrow?
It's today. I don't know.
It is today. The 22nd, like we said at the top of the show.
Yeah.
0 Hit Points!
We don't record early.
Woo!
We'll be back next week with more of your favorite depression talk.